What is up, guys? I'm DDK and I'm here with the new Herman Miller X Logitech Gaming Chair. Now, if you're familiar with Herman Miller's products, then you'll be aware that this is a modified M-body chair, and the modifications have come about because with this partnership with Logitech, with entering the gaming market with this partnership, they did research on pro gamers and what the needs of gamers look like, and they made some of the modifications to suit that. Now, first thing I'll say before I get into this review is I'm actually going to kind of say that I'll add the caveat that I'm not a reviewer per se. So this is more about me just giving you my thoughts on chairs and gaming and health and performance. And so, you can already tell, I'm recording this from a GoPro. I am using my podcast microphone with an XLR cable connected to my Zoom recorder. So definitely not the best setup in the world for this. But again, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on chairs. And if you're looking to make an investment in a chair, I want to give you a few things to consider in terms of that investment, in terms of health, and in terms of what we have in the gaming market. So firstly, one thing that's really important to consider when we're looking at making an investment in a chair is how much time you spend sitting. We spend as much time sitting or more in cases as we do lying down to sleep. I think sleeping really is the only comparable thing. So if you care a lot about having a good mattress, then you should care a lot about having a good chair for health. From a health perspective, but also, similarly, there's some other things like what do you spend time looking a lot at? Well, if you're on a chair and a desk, then you're probably looking at a monitor. So you should probably make sure you've got a good monitor that takes the best care of your eyes, and that you're thinking about your vision and all of that as well. So there are definitely, things. If you spend a lot of time with something, I feel like you should be prepared to think about it a little bit more. So what we have in the gaming market currently is these kind of bucket chairs, these race car chairs, and they've been branded as gaming chairs, so they're very prominent. And one of the areas of dissonance here for me, which I find interesting as to how this has come about, is the fact that the race car chairs are kind of inspired after, the race car, race cars and drivers racing around a track. And that's not what we are doing as gamers. We're sitting at a desk with a computer, looking at a monitor with a mouse and keyboard. That's kind of what we're doing. So by that notion, if you're really looking into getting a more serious chair for your health and for using at a desk that's really comfortable and everything, then you should be thinking about who makes the best office chairs, because the office workers, the chairs that are designed for office workers, that's effectively what you're doing as well. You're doing exactly the same thing. You're at a desk with your chair for extremely long periods of time looking at a monitor. So in that sense, then the mind starts to jump to companies like Herman Miller, who have an incredibly amazing reputation in terms of being industry leaders with the best research and development and just having extremely premium products that do solve these problems insofar as how do we create a really good solution for people that work at desks. So they've entered the gaming market now with this modified M-body chair. And again, one thing as well that you're going to get from a company like them is an assurance of quality. Again, if you're making that kind of investment, that's obviously something that you want. And also you're going to get a 12-year warranty. So that's an assurance that not only will it last for that period of time, which is an enormous period of time, they're also saying that we think the quality and the performance is going to last for that period of time. That's kind of insane and very impressive. Most chairs tend to give up after a few years and start to get really worn. So that's something to bear in mind as well, that if you have any issues, if you do pick up a chair like this, that if you have the warranty, then they will be able to sort you out if any issues do occur. And there are lots of different ways and methods to find and try various high-end chairs. I know a lot of people are fans of going through the open box route and stuff like that, and that's something I've done in the past too. And I think that can be a really effective way if you want to make the investment, but you're not quite ready to go all the way. It's a good half measure that is effective. But speaking of what the chair does for me, and generally speaking about posture, one of the best things about a chair like this is that it's supporting your good posture habits and encouraging them. And a chair will probably be in one of three places. Either it will be doing that, or it's going to be kind of in a neutral place where it's not really necessarily helping you, but it's not really hindering you too much in terms of posture, or it's going to be something that's actively very difficult for you to maintain a healthy posture. So the thing that Herman Miller were very clear about with this chair is designing it so that all parts of the posture are kind of taken care of and looked after and encouraged. Again, there's no magic pill that exists that's going to fix your posture. That you can't spend $20,000 on the chair or whatever obscene amount you can conjure up I don't know if there's a chair off the chair that exists for that amount, but whatever, you get the point. I don't think there is a chair that exists that's going to be like, yep, you sit in this chair and your posture is amazing. That doesn't exist. It only will exist that a chair will be very good at helping you and encouraging you to actually have those habits and to be successful in maintaining them. And so that's something that this chair does pretty effectively. And so I'm going to go into why. Well, actually, first, I'm gonna just give an example as to something that actively works against good posture. And I've been in a lot of different chairs whereby I think the most common thing for me that I've struggled with kind of long, I have like a long torso, long femurs, like the thigh bones, long legs, and broad shoulders. And one of the most common things that I run into is issues with the shoulders, like the kind of bucket chairs. They kind of the upper back support kind of closes around you, so I get my shoulders kind of coming in and rounding because of that, which is not what you want. You don't want your shoulders to be rounding in. I also get an issue where sometimes I slide down a little bit in the chair, which then creates a posterior pelvic tilt, which gives me kind of like a curved back, which anyone who's done any lifting knows that having a posterior pelvic tilt, I feel like doing a deadlift is a surefire way to just destroy your back. So don't want to do that. You want to keep your back in a neutral position. And also stuff like, moving my legs around, trying to find comfortable positions that are really a struggle because my legs don't feel supported correctly. So let's kind of go through these elements with this chair and how, for me, it really helps support my health, and how chairs like this will do that for you. So first things first, it starts with the feet. If we're talking about like the kinetic chain, we're talking about posture. It's not just one thing. It starts at the feet and with your legs. And so you can see that there's like a handle here, and I'm going to try to do this with, well, I guess I have to drop the microphone to do this, but basically there's an adjustment here that extends or retracts the seat of the chair so that if you have longer legs like me, you can extend it, or if you have shorter legs, you can pull it further in so that you have a tiny gap between the back of the knee and the seats so that your legs are actually correctly supported in terms of there's enough weight taken off of the legs. So you can see there's a good amount of movement there to kind of adjust for your size. And that's really important because, again, the legs and having good blood flow through the legs is really important. And that does come down to the weight distribution, and it comes down to the materials. And something else they have in this chair to help blood flow is they have some kind of a mesh. Again, there'll be reviewers who will have all of like the super nitty-gritty technical explanations of this kind of stuff. But basically, this chair has a lot of tiny moving parts when you're sitting on it to encourage good blood flow when you're sitting for long periods of time, which is really important. And one extra thing to mention, I guess, with this chair that's nice is that they have a really nice cooling foam, which is, again, it's designed to kind of keep you cool and be comfortable at the same time for long sessions of gaming and whatever. So going back to the posture stuff. So your legs are taken care of in that sense. If we then go to the next thing, we're thinking about the low back and I was talking about the pelvic tilt previously. Good back position comes down to pelvic tilt in a pretty big way. If your pelvis is tilted, posteriorly or anteriorly, then you're going to get, if it's posteriorly, you're going to get a curve like this, which is really, really bad. If you're going to get anteriorly, you're going to get a kind of curve like this, which is also, you want the back to be neutral, generally speaking. A slight anterior pelvic tilt, just very slight, is okay. But as again, people will be familiar with lifting, but generally speaking, we do want that neutral back position. So what happens in this chair is you have this knob here that allows you to tighten around the low back position, and this allows you to find a comfortable level where you can keep your pelvic tilt in kind of a good neutral, or as good to neutral as you can find, so that you can maintain like a very nice lower back position. So we're not talking about like having this crazy like kind of like fist feeling in your low back, which feels uncomfortable, and some chairs have that with these cushions that they have. But actually your back's just in a good position, and the chair just kind of is just lightly kind of connected to it because it's helping you to have that position. And then it's just kind of just this soft hand almost, just touching your back and supporting that position that you found to yourself that's good. And so I really love that feature of how they have handled that, how they can encourage a good and support a good pelvic tilt for a good back position. And then if we look at the next thing, we're going to be thinking about the idea of your upper back, your thoracic spine, your shoulders. And one thing you'll notice as well is there's actually a lot of flexibility at the back of the chair. So if you're kind of stretching and moving around, it feels really comfortable and it moves with you, which is honestly feels really good. And the other thing as well is that it's flat as well and wide. So for people that have broader shoulders like me, I don't feel restricted at all, which is really important, especially for us gamers who are making extreme precise movements with our hands. So the other things to consider here as well with that is that we don't want rounding of the shoulders. We do want to be sitting upright. We want a slight incline, as you can see me here. We don't want kind of forward head. We don't want that. We want the head to be in a good kind of head position, and we want the eyes to be kind of towards like the center of the monitor more or less, or a little bit above or below is okay, but that's a good rough rule of thumb. And then, as you can see, I'm in this like really nice position. I actually just want to be in this position, and now I want the desk to just be here. So I want it to be the case that my arms are just resting. So there's no like my forearms, because I like to have my elbow to my fingertips on the actual mouse pad and on the desk, so I can just be very comfortable and I feel like I have a lot of control. I feel like this is, for me, is the most supported position, and I want to just be in this position now. So the ability to kind of, obviously like have the adjustments on the armrests, and they go in and out. And it can be a little bit clunky, but ultimately for me, because I just lock them in one position, it just doesn't affect me. But they go down really far, and that allows me to get the desk right in towards my like solar plexus, and I get to just have a great position, and I'm just in this position, and I'm able to just use the mouse really fluidly. And again, that's for me a really comfortable position. I know a lot of people have different positioning in terms of how they're going to interact with the mouse and where their arm will be on the desk and everything like that. But I found for me, I can just stay in this position, and it's amazing. I used to have issues leaning forwards and slouching down, but now I've kind of retrained myself, and I'm really happy about it because it took a while to do, to kind of just have a little lean back, even when things are getting intense, and I feel like I'm in full control of everything and in a really good position. My shoulders are not rounding in and closing down. They're kind of remaining to an open position, which is going to be really good. And I'm someone that's had 2 shoulder surgeries, so an open shoulder surgery on this one and a non-open one on this one, and shoulder injuries are no fun. And having making sure that the stress is not going into places where it shouldn't be, because your arm, let's say your arm is lifted up, you can see that my shoulder, let's say, if my forearm is not parallel to the desk, my shoulder is lifting up here, or vice versa. As my shoulder is drooping, then I'm getting an imbalance and asymmetry in how my muscles are being used and how the stress is being distributed, and that can create complementary or compensatory, I should say, mechanisms that are going to lead you to imbalances and maybe leading you to injuries, and it's just a whole host of issues. So a chair like this, I feel like this is supporting my posture really effectively, and that's something that I think that you guys should think about for your health and your performance in the long term. So, and I know a lot of people, again, are a bit shy to make an investment like this, but I know a lot of people have also dropped, thousands of dollars on skins. So maybe you can think about, saving up instead of, dropping the money on skins. You can drop the money on a chair, or maybe it's not important to you, and that's fine too, if that's the case. But either way, that's my 2 cents on posture and when you're what you should look for in some of these chairs, and I think this is a great chair. They knocked it out of the park, and I'm really happy with it. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you on the next one.